What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on a statement that Nick Wright made when he was talking about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, right? And so he basically said, number one, he said that Jaylen Brown is better than Jason Tatum. And I disagree with that, and I'm gonna tell you why. Then he said that he's surprised that Jaylen Brown, like the Celtics are in a position that they were in, you know, under the leadership of Jaylen Brown. And again, I'm not surprised because I mean, Jaylen Brown has always demonstrated that he was the kind of player that showed up in big moments. So when Nick Wright says that he's surprised how good the Celtics look this year, I mean, I disagree. Even before Jason Tatum got hurt and going back a few years, the Celtics, every time they got into the playoffs, people never said that Jaylen Brown didn't show up in big minutes, in the big times in the game, right? He always showed up in big moments. On the other hand, Jason Tatum, he didn't always show up. Sometimes, he kind of shrunk sometimes in big moments. Now, when they made their championship run that year, that was the kind of year, that was the year that he kind of like he lived up to the billing, in my opinion, that year. But up until that point, Jaylen Brown has always been the one in big games who showed up big. And people was kind of waiting on Jason Tatum to play up to his full potential. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the audio from what Nick Wright says, and then I'm gonna come back and give some more of my input.
I think it's very clear Jason Tatum is the better player. I don't know that Jaylen Brown feels that way. And I'm not saying you should feel this way. And I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong. It would have been incomprehensible to me that Jaylen Brown could play at this level for a team this good. This is where it gets complicated. I do not believe the Celtics can win the championship as presently constituted. I think they could win the title with a 75% Jason Tatum. His success in this rehab has put him in an impossible position. If he had rehabbed more according to a traditional timeline, everyone would simply be targeting the beginning of next season. Because he's so far ahead of schedule, there would still be some level of, oh man, if he could have just come back for the playoffs, could we have won the title?
So, all right, let me just say this to you about his statements. If remember, at one point in time, the Celtics, there was rumors going around that the Celtics was thinking about getting rid of one of these guys, either get rid of Tatum or Brown. That was, that was the talk. Like before they won that championship, they was thinking about getting rid of one of them, which I thought, even at that time, I thought that would have been a big mistake because you need a big two in order to be able to challenge for championships. And now, the way it looked, where you like if the Celtics got into the championship, they'd probably be going up against OKC, which they would need both, they would need both of their scores. Or if they went up against, just imagine going up against the Spurs and having either Tatum or Brown. I think it's better to have both of those guys. So I never agreed with, getting rid of both of them, or I mean, getting rid of one of them. And I think that because Jaylen Brown, he's always just been the kind of guy who didn't talk about his game, or he didn't act like he needed more credit than what he was getting. He just let his play on the floor demonstrate. That's where he showed his worth, with his play on the floor, and that's why I always, and the same thing for Tatum. Tatum didn't ask for more credit or wanted more, more of the limelight. So these two guys in themselves have been really just been, going out there and trying to get better and playing hard. But I like the fact that for Brown, he had the opportunity to prove that he could live up to the billing. And look at how the Celtics look without Tatum, and just with Brown. And so now that they got Tatum back, I think that makes them even more dangerous. So I don't get how Nick Wright thinks that Tatum, is better. I think they're about the same 1A, 1-2, 1A, 1B. I think that their games complement each other. Because, like I said, Brown, he never shrink in big moments. Tatum used to, sometimes he did. And so there was something else on here that I wanted to speak on that this guy said.
It's very clear Jason Tatum is the better player. I don't know.
Now, I don't understand how he could say it's clear that like Tatum is better. I don't get that.
Jaylen Brown feels that way. And I'm not saying you should feel this way. And I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong. It would have been incomprehensible to me that Jaylen Brown could play at this level for a team this good.
And just think about it. Like, now, do you think, and it might be the case that if Brown was out hurt and you had Tatum, would the Celtics be doing this good, if you had Tatum and not Brown? See, that's a question you have to ask.
This is where it gets complicated. I do not believe the Celtics can win the championship as presently constituted. I think they could win the title with a 75% Jason Tatum. His success in this rehab has put him in an impossible position.
Now, I do think that, like with just Jaylen Brown, I don't think the Celtics can win a championship. I don't think they could be nobody coming out the West with just because those teams just too deep, right? But I think with that 1-2 punch, you got Tatum and Brown. I think they are a threat to beat, anybody that come out of the West.
He had rehabbed more according to a traditional timeline. Everyone would simply be targeting the beginning of next.
And I like the fact that Jason Tatum came back. Before he came, I think he was working out with a G League team, and people were saying that he wasn't going to come back. And as soon as I heard that, Tatum was in the gym and he's working out with other professional basketball players, I was like, yeah, he trying to come back this season. And sure enough, look at where they are. You got Tatum back. And if they want to make a legitimate run, I think it was a good strategy. Well, it worked out well for them because the Knicks not really looking all that good. The East is really not. The East is up for grabs, except for with Detroit. But I'm not big on the Knicks. I'm not big on Cleveland, Orlando. Like none of the teams in the East am I really sold on. So I thought that this was a year that the Celtics can really take advantage of the rest of the league not being healthy or even not being like the way they were last year, especially and like with Indiana, the Pacers don't have Halliburton. So I thought this was a good opportunity for Tatum to come back and help Brown get to the championship and possibly win another one. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win against like either anybody out the West because it's going to be tough. All those, any of the teams that come out of the West is going to be so tough and hard to beat. But yeah, I definitely disagree with Nick Wright. I'm not surprised at how the Celtics look this year with Brown, being running the show. I'm just not. And so the good thing about it is they're gonna have both of these guys in the playoffs, and we could see how much noise they're gonna be able to make. And so that's my take on it. But yeah, both of these they're gonna need both of these guys in order to win that championship. And so don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'm gonna check y'all out in the next video. Peace.